Hey, good afternoon, Scott Luton, Greg White. Greg, how cool is that intro?
That is pretty cool.
Tip of the hat to our friend Bradley. Did a great job. And of course, Clay always does a great job. But hey, to our listeners and our audience, welcome to today's very special edition, Supply Chain Live. And, you know, Greg, it's Veterans Day here in the United States, where we celebrate all the individuals that have worn the uniform. And we're really grateful for all of what they've done, all the service, all the sacrifice, and of course, all the folks that are currently wearing uniform, deployed here at home and abroad. So thank you to all on behalf of our Supply Chain Now team. We take that very seriously, and we're deeply, deeply grateful. Greg, your take.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, you say it a lot. Thank you for your service. But the truth is that service is not just the enlisted person, right? It's their family. You know, it's a real job, right? And it means it does mean life and death, and it is not a small undertaking. So it's hard to overstate our appreciation.
Well put. And you know what? We've got a great special episode. We've got an outstanding veteran panel.
Lively, you might even say.
Yeah, it was the liveliest pre-show we've had in quite some time. It was tough to get everybody on the same page, but I'm kidding. We had a blast and looking forward to sharing Mary, Kate, Matt, and Marina with our audience here today. But really quick, we got to pay the bills first, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's share a couple of quick events with our audience here. We've been talking about this upcoming webinar. We've got a week from today, or a week from tomorrow, I should say, November 19th, all about IoT, right? Internet of Things. Greg, nothing new, but some of the applications that Bob Slevin with Open Text is going to share with us next week will undoubtedly be new, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, we just talked to somebody today about something I had not thought of as an IoT, but the way that robotics works in a fulfillment facility. And, you know, and there are ways to monitor the performance of things in the field, how much your milk jug weighs in your refrigerator, and whether you should be alerted to buy more. I mean, all of those things, practical and advanced, are IoT. So it's relevant, big time.
Agreed. All right. So we got a link to register for that in the show notes. Y'all check it out. We'd love to have you join us. And then from our friends at SAPICS, we've got the 2020 SAPICS virtual conference coming up. Achieve Perfect 2020 Supply Chain Vision. How about that, Greg?
You can tell this is not just another webinar by the cool nature and all the colors on this graphic. I mean, it really says this is not just another webinar. I mean, other than literally saying it, the graphics really speak to that no more stodgy association.
Agreed.
Right. So
I love how they've just owned that. They've just baked it into their hashtag because, you know, a lot of virtual events have been accused of just being kind of a webinar on steroids. But here, our friend Jenny Froome and the SAPICS team will deliver it, and we are pleased to be a part of that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So I am so excited to get to our panel today and get their comments out and their point of view out to our audience. Let's say hello to a few folks really quick before we bring them on. Josue Ramos, the podcast star, is with us. Hello, Josue. Great to see you.
I haven't got to see the episode, but I saw that.
I haven't yet. Mervin is with us also via LinkedIn. Aaron Freed, who gave a great interview on our Veteran Voices episode. Right. Aaron, great to have you here on Veterans Day. Tina is tuned in via LinkedIn.
You want me to give that name a shot? I'll give it a shot.
Please.
Malashevsky. Let's see how it goes.
Very nice.
Tina, rate it.
Scale of 1 to 10. Give us how well did Greg do?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're playing that game and not me. Michelle is here. Allison Giddens. And hello, Michelle. Hope you and the family are doing well. Allison Giddens, live stream star, came on and wowed us all last week. And great to have you here as well. Allison.
2 quick messages for Allison. Thank you for the heads up on the pallets. And I have to confess, I went to Tacos del Chavo without you, but I thought about you while I was there. So.
That's right. All right. So with no further ado, really excited about this panel. Let's bring on Mary Kate Soliva, Matt Brink, and Marina Rabinec. All right. Hey, everybody. How are we doing?
Great. Glad to be here. Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, likewise.
Happy Veterans Day. Thank you
Welcome
all for
aboard.
your service. And guys and gals, we had a wonderful time in the pre-show. I think it's going to spill right over into today's live stream.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I have to ask you this. Have you ever been swooshed into anything before? Huh?
No.
That was the
Pretty cool, right?
smoothest swoosh in ever.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like formation somewhere.
we gotta take Mary Kate's testimonial there, Clay and Amanda. We got to use that. So
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Appreciate again y'all's time today. I know y'all stay really busy, all volunteer leaders with an organization on the move called Vets to Industry, which we'll learn a little bit more about through the hour. But all right, so jam-packed. So Greg, before we dive in deeper and talk a variety of veteran issues, let's get to know our panel a little bit better. We've had the ability to do that kind of in the lead up to today's live stream and then in the pre-show. So let's start with Marina Rabinec. Let's tell us about yourself, kind of those two hand gestures you were talking about, the professional, yes, and the human element. So
yes.
Tell us a little about yourself.
So that's funny that you chose me because we were like rock, paper, scissors, ring. Who was going to go first?
Who won?
Well, I thought it was going to be Matthew, but I didn't. I have been in the Navy now for 23 years and 9 months. She says with a question mark on the end. Yes, I have about 109 days left in the military.
Wow.
And so what I'm doing currently is I am actually participating in something called a DoD Skill Bridge. It is an internship that the Department of Defense helps to set up for you. And I'm doing that with a company called Resilience Building Leader Program. They do leadership certifications. And so that is what I'm doing now on top of, being VP of marketing for Vets to Industry with my second, who is right there. The awesome Mary Kate.
So Marina, shame on me. I should have done more homework. You're currently still in the Navy. I missed that completely. My apologies.
9 days left, but I'm so close. And that final stretch.
So, just to be clear, Marina, then your internship, is it vice president of merchandising for this organization?
No. The VP of marketing is a volunteer thing, not paid.
Got it.
Bruce says, but who's counting?
Right.
Bruce,
I wanted to say that, but I thought I'd let somebody else take it.
So, and thank you to who said thank you for my service. Oh, Mervin, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, the internship is, so originally I was going to be a PR specialist, but then they just asked me to do operations manager instead. And that internship I'm doing is like 6 months long. For the last 6 months, you can do 180 days up to, and mine, they asked me to do the whole 180 days.
Awesome.
So stuff I like to do. We just adopted 2 new kittens. Love playing with them.
What's their names?
Luna and Aries.
Okay, Luna and Aries.
Don't go there, Scott Luton.
So
Where you're going.
just so y'all know, Greg's got a cat named Shenanigans, and I always like to benchmark names.
I love
So Marina, all right. So the cat's names again were
Luna, like the moon, and Aries, like the god of war.
Love that. Well, gosh, between finishing out what an incredible career with the U.S. Navy, volunteering your time with this incredible organization on the move that's doing so much for so many people, Vets to Industry, and now you're herding cats, literally.
Literally.
And where do you get time in the day?
I have absolutely no idea. And honestly, I am not doing as much as our founder and CEO. Like, I don't know. I think he's like hashtag team no sleep because the dude is like, see, they're both like, Brian Arrington is, he just went, look.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy with the little red tie on. Yes, he is hashtag Team No Sleep because I swear he has 6 children, a wife, works a full-time job, and he is the founder and CEO, or I'm sorry, founder, president, CEO, all of that jazz of Vets to Industry. So
we love Brian, extremely busy and excited about where you are headed and how many people you're helping. So Marina, great to have you here. We look forward to picking your brain a little bit more here momentarily. Let's go right around, at least how y'all arranged on my screen. We'll drop down below Marina and Mary Kate Soliva. Mary Kate, tell us about yourself.
Yes. Oh, hi. Yeah. I feel like a little bit of like a Brady Bunch, in something like this. But thank you for having me on the show, and want to wish everybody a happy, blessed Veterans Day. I was actually a Navy brat. My dad served 20 years in the U.S. Navy, so we traveled around quite a bit. But I ended up going Army, and so here I am. And I am just like Marina, I know, with my 2 Navy colleagues over here, but I actually have 283 days left, so I'm following closely behind Marina, chasing her to the finish line. But with that, I definitely recommend for those that are transitioning veterans to volunteer, because it's such a rewarding experience to be able to give back to the veteran community, and being part of Vets to Industry, being able to let veterans know about over 40,000 veteran organizations that are out there offering resources and services. And a lot of veterans I speak to can't even name 10 of them. So it's an incredible opportunity. I'm here in North Carolina, and I'm also a volunteer, part of my free time, a victim advocate for victims of human trafficking. So it's something I studied in graduate school, and I'm really passionate about. And it's just a great opportunity to give back to my local community.
Love that, Mary Kate. And you, how long have you served?
I'll have a total of 11 years when my clock ends.
Wow. Thank you so much. And again, I agree. I echo what you said about volunteering, because it allows you to gain different skill sets kind of on the civilian side. It helps you build a network, and most importantly, it helps you give back. And we all win, right, when we're giving back or giving forward, as Greg has coined here. So one more thing, Mary Kate, on a human side, right? What's one thing that you love to do when you're not helping others and serving?
I'm actually an old lady at heart. I love antiquing. So I love going to flea markets and antiquing, and my grandmother taught me how to knit. So the guys joke with me because they think my furniture is haunted. They come over to my house and they're like, did someone die in that chair? I don't want to sit in it. So I definitely love, any good antique shows around, I'll be there. So
Mary Kate, you got to come to Monroe, Georgia, which is right around the corner from where we live. It's supposed to be the antique capital of the Southeast, or maybe the country. But come check it out. I think you would be able to spend a couple of days in antique heaven.
Yeah.
So that'd be fantastic. My dad had an old Pontiac, and so we used to ride around in the parades and waving the flags as a little kid out the 1942 Pontiac. So, he's the one that got me really into antiquing, and it's just something my family, we love to do together.
Love
North
it.
Carolina is what you would call a target-rich environment for.
So the Army did me good.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
And talk about multitasking. Marina, you're in 2 places at once. I love that, Marina. And hello, Aaron, and Brian is also multitasking. So great to have you all. Indy, who I'm not sure exactly, we'll see if we can find a name there, but way to rep, hashtag Team Freedom Beard. Love that there, Indy. Okay. So Mary Kate, again, appreciate all your service. Appreciate you sharing a little bit about yourself. And Matt, as we wrap up, kind of get to know our panel a little bit better, tell us about yourself.
Well, first off, Scott and Greg, thank you for the opportunity to come and join this incredible team. I work with both of these 2 amazing ladies in the industry space, and also support the Resiliency Building Leadership Program as well as a resiliency coach, and also supporting all of our different veteran organizations as much as I can in my off time. But as Vice President of Organizational Development, I'm trying to build processes to even support V2I, Find and Voice. In the military, I've been serving now for 26 years. And it's a little kind of a very unique story, because I started off as enlisted and I worked my way up through the ranks of 14 different promotions, and found myself going from, the senior enlisted rank to now an officer. And I was about 3 weeks ago finding out that I'm about to either transition out of the military and start figuring out what I'm going to do next, which I'll get into later. But recently, last week, found out that I get to stay for another 4 years at least and reach my 30-year mark. So I'm really excited about it. It's a great opportunity to not only share what I've learned in the last 8 months of networking, which I believe is 100% what we all need to be doing. It's what we're doing today. But also for all the people that are still in the uniform, don't get discouraged. We are here to help. And the amount of voices and support out there is absolutely incredible. So that's why I wanted to do this today and share my knowledge with everybody.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah. 20, gosh, congrats. I mean, I wish I could reach out and hug all three of y'all, because the amount of service and sacrifices that you and your families have made, it means so much. So we really appreciate y'all's time here today. All right. So Matt, before we go back around the horn and find out in a small nutshell what everybody does, what's one thing about Matt Brink that maybe some folks may not know?
The biggest thing about me is I have been an introvert almost my entire life, basically keeping to my bubble, keeping to my family. And for the last 8 months, it took me 26 years to join the LinkedIn community. And the folks that have been joining me and connecting with me on LinkedIn have been astounded by the fact that I've been an introvert. And that I've been about taking care of my sailors and taking care of my folks and my family. But now they're realizing that I have a voice too. So I'm very, very passionate about helping others and being a father of 2 amazing little children, and one of them being a 4-year-old who's keeping me young every day. So that's right there. And I can't wait to get him out on the golf course and show him that that's how you don't slice the ball.
Hey, share that with me too. I'll pay for that secret of life. All right. So Greg, I want to get you in just for a couple of quick comments before we go back around the horn, and then we're going to pose some questions. But what do you say? The 3 folks have spent so much of their life giving back and serving our country.
You know what I say is somehow they look really young for the amount of years they've all served. So I'm not kidding. It's hard to believe. So I don't know who's connected to U.S. military marketing, but too young.
Right. That's a great comment. Hey, all right. So really quick, because we want to pick your brains on some veterans issues and topics and subject matter that veterans and non-veterans alike are really curious about. So, but before we do that, and Marina, we're gonna circle back around to you. What are you doing now? You shared a little bit about the program you're in, shared a little bit else, but what are you doing for Vets to Industry?
So what I'm doing now is VP of marketing. So with that, it's a lot of, telling everybody about the events that are going on, making sure that we're, getting our name out there, having people come to our events. We have one coming up here on the 14th of November. It's our 11th Vets to Industry virtual networking circuit event. Very long name. But you can find it on Eventbrite. You just do online events and do a search, and then you can find it right there. It's, and then you can follow us on Eventbrite so that they pop up whenever, because we do them every 3 weeks. So after the 14th, it's going to be December 5th, but then we're going to take a break. And then the next one after that's going to be the 9th of January.
Okay. We'll see if Amanda and Clay can find it and maybe drop the link in the comments.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely grab it off of Eventbrite. Or when I'm not talking, I can find it for you.
Actually, I'd like to see you do it while you're talking.
Yes.
Greg, I'll pull out the head swivel and I will do it. No.
So VP of marketing with Vets to Industry, lots of events, resources coming up. We've got the link to Vets to Industry in the show notes so folks can find it. And we're going to share that also as we wrap up here today. Mary Kate, moving right along. And I know everyone's got a lot to share. I'm going to try to get all y'all to weigh in and then get to some of the questions we want to pose you. Mary Kate, what are you doing right now?
Okay, so for Vets to Industry, I'm the Senior Executive Director of Marketing. So essentially, with Marina, I'm on the marketing team. I'm spearheading the monthly newsletter. So we're always looking for writers and content to give advice and tips for transitioning veterans. And that doesn't have to be veterans that are currently serving. If you're a military spouse or caregiver, if you are out of service and you're transitioning, because we go through different transitions throughout life, and you want to know about those resources and you need help, you can definitely reach out to us. And I'm happy to get your content in the newsletter to share out to our veterans and their families.
Outstanding. Thanks so much, Mary Kate. And Matt, before we get you to weigh in, you've got a fellow. Josue says he is an extremely strong introvert. Also, Matt, although I'm young, I also started just a few months ago on LinkedIn. So birds of a feather for sure. All right. So Matt, what are you doing right now?
So for Vets to Industry, I'm the Vice President of Organizational Development. And a reason why I wanted to choose that is because what I do in the military is I help process improvement at the level that I work at. So what that means is you go into an organization and you find ways to do things better. And Vets to Industry is an incredible organization with a lot of talented people. So my job is basically just to kind of harness everybody's talents and try to figure out how we can do things better. And that's all by teamwork, which is what I deliver every single day in my military profession. So why not take that into the civilian community and help out veteran organizations like V2I? And so I support Brian Arrington and Randy Ricones and Bruce Thompson in the triad of and Brian Shue and those folks that really start figuring out how can we get this to the next level. So more of like a QA role as well.
Love it. So much here, Greg, to kind of peel layers back. But I know we've got some questions that we've gotten from members of our community, right?
Yeah. And I think, what I think is so impressive is that you all are taking the initiative from the inside. We have heard, as you know, we do this Veteran Voices things pretty frequently, and we have heard so much confusion from veterans getting ready to transition. And I think this as a consolidation point is a fantastic service to those who have served us. And it allows, I think, for, kind of a clearinghouse to say, hey, if this is where you're headed, these are the outfits that can help you. So I really applaud what you guys are doing from the military standpoint, but I think it's valuable for, and because this is what we've also heard enunciated pretty clearly, is how can industry get involved with vets? How can they, any tips or insights that you have for people who are interested in hiring or selecting or nurturing vets as they do transition out of the military into industry?
I think the first thing most people should do is go to the SHRM Foundation website. There is a wonderful training that they have, and you can probably see it up there on my wall back there. One of those. It's Vets at Work, Veterans at Work, by the SHRM Foundation. And anybody who is a non-veteran, aka what we like to call a civilian, right? Anybody that's that hasn't served, it's a great way to learn about veterans, how to make veteran employee resource groups. If you're at a company, it doesn't matter, small, medium, large size company, because what I have found as I'm getting closer and closer to the end of my time is that I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to stay connected and have that camaraderie. That is what I found with Vets to Industry, and I'm gonna start crying. That is what I found with Vets to Industry, is a family. Like, I feel like I belong. I can be my silly self, and I don't have to put that military mask on that a lot of people see from us. That are not in, you know what I mean? That tough face. And I don't have to do that anymore. And it makes me glad that I don't have to do that anymore. But that's a great place to start. And then going to the website, now let me tell you the reason why this website is great. The Vets Industry website is because there are 45,000, yes, 45,000 veteran service organizations.
Yeah.
Okay, my brain when I heard that number was like, seriously? Like seriously?
Like 1, 2, I can't.
Yeah, like how many? I can't use that many in my entire life. Like, what are you talking about? 45,000. And so when I got on LinkedIn, I just started trying to find out, what are the ones that everybody talks about. And V2I was one of them, American Corporate Partners, which is a mentor. You get a year-long mentor of somebody that's in a Fortune 500 up to Fortune 100, person that's going to be your mentor for an entire year. You've got Veterati. Oh gosh, how many?
I love that name.
Yeah, Veterati is awesome. Daniel and Diana Rao are the bomb.com. Like, love them. I'm trying to think. I mean, y'all can help me out. Commit Foundation, the Leader Transition Institute. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, and I won't though, because I'm going to let Mary talk.
All right. Yeah. No, thank you. I mean, we have recognized both the struggles of vets getting through transition, even knowing where to go. I understand there's some big 400-page program that everybody gets, and I shall not reveal names, but I know that most of them don't read. But so there is, but there's also the same sort of seeking, if you will, lack of direction, I think, on the corporate side. So how do you think companies can help, Mary?
I think companies can help just by listening and just being out there. I see a lot of recruiters and hiring managers on LinkedIn. I mean, that's a platform that we're on. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So it's like if you connect with these veteran service organizations, you're opening that door of opportunity to access a plethora of talent, not just from the veteran community, but also military spouses, which offer an enormous amount of experience from all over the world and many different backgrounds. And so that's why I love us, Brian, coming up with Vets to Industries networking events, because they happen every 3 weeks, so they're consistent. We open up the doors for companies from different industries to come to attend from 2 to 7 p.m. Eastern time, and you have a face-to-face and it's not like the very formal, rigid setting, and where you walk in maybe to a job fair on base where you're really nervous because there's a lot of rank around. But being able to do this, especially at a time with COVID-19 happening, that something's available virtually, that you feel connected, so you're not alone. Knowing that these industries we are opening the door to these industries. They just only have to reach out and ask, and they're welcome to come and attend. And again, if there are veteran service organizations out there and they are not on the website, they can reach out to one of us. We can get them with our research team and get them on the Vets to Industry website, because we want them out there.
Awesome. Hey, Greg, let me interject really quick, share a couple of comments. Josue says, after 20 years in the Army, my uncle started trucking like many veterans do, and the amount of values he has carried on from the military is amazing. Keith says, hey, Marina, you can do it. Myself, being an M1 tank commander and platoon leader, I had to not only talk to my tank crew, but also make sure my driver was driving correctly, shooting the targets, coordinate my tank platoon, and keep my boss, company CO, updated simultaneously. I think you were talking about your multitasking there. Yeah. And one final comment, Greg, before we keep driving. Clay has dropped, Marina, I think you referenced the SHRM. He dropped that in the notes. Thank you, Clay. All right, Greg, all yours.
Well, I mean, I guess, Matt, I'd like to shift the question just slightly, since, one of the things that I think would be important for folks in industry to understand is what do you see them communicating to you all about the difficulties? Because I'll just tell you that what I see is a lot of empathy for veterans, but not a lot of understanding in how to deal with them, or, as Mary and Marina have both said, you guys are used to getting your ass kicked for having your shoes tied wrong, and that just doesn't exist in the industry. So and I don't think a lot of people understand why all the rigidity, why all the formality and all that sort of thing when you come into industry, and a bunch of other things. But give us some idea of some of the challenges that you hear enunciated, or that you help companies and professionals in industry who want to help them overcome.
That's a good question, Greg. One of the things that I've learned through the last 8 months of really seriously strong networking is when you start talking to the hiring managers and the transition specialists and the talent acquisition specialists, you start to realize that they have a military affairs program in these companies. And a lot of folks that do these kind of things, they're ones that wore the uniform before you. So they understand the lingo. They understand where to translate your resume. So you're not talking in the lingo that's Army or Navy or Marine Corps, Air Force or Coast Guard. It is a leadership, your abilities, your sets, your skills, your deliverables that you can help add value to that company. So when the two mirror up, it's not about the rank that they held in the military, because that's great for what you did in the military. But what I've really learned is it doesn't matter if I have 26 years in the military. I can't just join an organization and say, well, I've led 100 people in this organization and done great things and had all these great successes. What am I going to do joining this group? So one of the things that Marina and Mary Kate and myself are all in is a transition assistance program called 4-Block. And 4-Block is really helps you understand the value that you need to learn about yourself, not only your elevator pitch, but also your ability to say, this is what value I add to your organization. So we get lost in translation quite a bit in the military of, I'm really good at this specific job and I can do it anywhere because I'm a leader. But when you join the civilian sector, it's not about just being a leader. It's about what kind of skills and trade values can you add to my organization to make me better. So another name drop is Canderful. When you start doing the interview process, you can actually get hold of Canderful and start setting up online interviews where you can figure out how to translate those skills. So there's a lot of effort. There's a lot of organizations out there that honestly I just did not know about. And when I was doing my job seeking, I was looking at Northrop Grumman and Amazon and Lockheed Martin. And it's amazing when you go on LinkedIn how many people want to help you. And you have to ask.
Very true.
And when you go in there with the genuinity of, I'm asking to join your network just to learn and get some interviews processes and things like that, it's amazing how many people want to help you out. So, folks like Sam and Ray Domingo of Amazon and Lockheed Martin, both of them, they do things like this all the time on their own. And if folks like that are out there, but you don't know unless you ask. So that's what.
LinkedIn Mill City.
Yeah, I think that's, one of the things that you said that's really important there is that kind of translation is not it's not what you did necessarily, it's what you learned or what you took away from it, right? Because I think this is not on the vets, by the way, but not being a veteran myself. I think it's really hard for those of us who've never been in military, even if you've been in a military family, you've never been on that side of the wall, right? So I think it's really difficult for people to go, okay, led 100 people, taught them how to whatever, right? Throw grenades, whatever it is, right? How do I translate that into my organization? And I think the veteran has to, and these organizations that help with that are so valuable in helping to create that translation, because most people who are lifelong civilians, those of us who've served as lifelong civilians, we don't get how to translate that. And even though, as you said, Matt, there's a lot of empathy and understanding and desire to help out there, the language barrier is substantial.
Right? Good point. Good point. And I want to pull out along these lines. Keith says, excellent point, Matt. The hardest thing for a vet is to know how to translate your military skills to a civilian skill that will help the company you're applying to overcome some sort of challenge they are facing. So good point there. All right. So much good stuff here, Greg.
Spoon fed, right? The amateur They need to be spoon fed. So I think, as a vet, don't be afraid to say, this is what these are the skills that I have. And of course, study up on any company that you talk to say, if this area is a problem for you, I can help you with that.
There was one that I just thought about that we forgot to mention because Greg, you made a great point about, there's all these different companies, or not companies, but nonprofits that can help with the resume. At Hire Heroes USA, actually, both Matt and I have the same guy for our resumes. Yeah, so.
How's Clay so?
And still serving veterans too. Still serving veterans helped me.
I don't know, Clay. How are you doing?
Clay's got a drone army that's all tuned in and is helping us out with the live stream here today. So he's on it.
Chat here, and Marina she's prompting him. That's how.
So there's our heroes and hiring our heroes. There's hire heroes and there's hiring our heroes.
Yes.
And hiring our heroes is the resume support team that really, I had so many people reach out and say, well, I don't know how to do a resume. And I was working with Marina. That was one of the things that was driving her crazy, was the resume piece. And we were helping each other back and forth. And it was like, wow, you have the same person I do. Amazing. And they do it for free.
Wait, I think you got it backwards. Did you say hiring our heroes? Hiring our heroes is the fellowships. Hire Heroes USA is the resume.
Yep.
So I want to share this. I know there's so many resources out here, and Greg's going to do another loop through the panel to get some best practices for transitioning and beyond the resources and kind of moving up. But Aaron, who again we just interviewed and published it last Saturday, says Keith Duckworth, truth, translating military achievements into civilian terminology, huge challenge. Staying focused on results versus actions was helpful. Money saved, KPIs improved, etc. Pretty universal.
Yep.
And Aaron goes on to share in his interview a lot of great information, such as once you complete your resume, doesn't mean you've crossed the finish line. It's got to be a living and breathing document. And as you add achievements, right away add it in there and constantly look for ways of how you can optimize it. So great points there from Aaron. Clay also says Vetlanta here if you're in Metro Atlanta, Vetlanta is a city shining city on the hill for how an organization that doesn't take any money serves and gives back our veteran community by mixing the private sector in with veterans and other veteran services groups. So Clay, good call out there. Yeah. All right, Greg, let's
veterans too. That was one that Bruce Thompson just called out, was still serving veterans. They all serving
veterans.
Yeah, there we go. See, Brian,
they helped me. Still serving veterans was the resource I used. Great help. Eric Brew, awesome. The whole team.
Fantastic. And one final note, Greg, before I promise I'm gonna turn it back over to you. But one final note for our audience that may be trying to really quickly capture this URL and this name here and this organization here. The beautiful thing that this whole team here has done is give it a clearinghouse, vets to industry. You're going to find all of these links there, helpful tidbits. These are vetted organizations that are there to help veterans and their families and military spouses, you name it. So wonderful resource. All right. So Greg, let's keep driving with our discussion here today.
Yeah. And I'd like to loop back to just one thing, Matt. I think you mentioned an organization that helps with mock interviews. Can you repeat the name of that organization?
It's Canderful, and I'm pretty sure Marina is typing it right now. So
I know that whenever she goes on mute, she is also typing at the same time. So while she's doing that, Matt, I've got a couple other questions for you. I want to do this kind of twofold and rapid fire, if you will. But for veterans in transition, other than these organizations, I'd love for each of you to talk about any tips that particularly helped you. I mean, any kind of epiphanal moments or breakthroughs that really helped you. And also maybe any insights you have for civilians or that you gained from civilians or you feel like either helped you or helped them to kind of bridge that gap, bridge that language barrier. Matt, you want to start with that?
I'll start off with the tips part of that, Greg. And the biggest tip I'm going to say is break out of your shell. Be available to be vulnerable. What I mean by that is don't think that you're going to make a mistake or that you are stuck in your own ways. If you want to grow, you've got to be able to be vulnerable and let people help you. If you don't ask, people can't help you. And for me, that was really, really difficult. And also be able to take constructive feedback. And it may not be the best feedback that you want to hear. For example, when you join LinkedIn, if you go in there with a military photo, a bad background, your brand isn't known, there's a few people on there that will sit there and tell you you need to fix something, but they're not doing it to hurt you. They're doing it to help you. So my biggest is to be accepting of support that are coming from all different directions. But unless you network and start asking for help, it's going to be a really difficult road, I promise. And then for your other piece, I would say that if you can translate those skills in the civilian community, and you started with the statement earlier, do your research of the company. Once you do that, you look at their website, and if they're a military-friendly website, or even if they're not, if you just find out what the job rec is looking for, what their culture is, what kind of values, benefits, and programs things do they give back to the community, those kind of things. Look at your values. And Brian Arrington does a nice teach on this about understanding your 5 values. If those are compromisable,
Yes.
then it's not the company for you. So that would be my biggest advice.
I want to add just one thing before I ask Mary Kate. You're going to fail a lot, right? The best batters in baseball fail 70% of the time. And it's not because you're a veteran, by the way, that you're failing. Most people don't get so much, and this irritates Scott to no end. Most people, civilians included, don't get even the courtesy of a reply to their application for a job. So that is no reflection on you. That is more a reflection on the process. And that's, that's one thing that I think helps, because it's easy to feel like it's something about you, and particularly when you're going through such a dramatic transition from military to civilian industry. I can assure you it's not about you. The system is really screwed up. Okay, that said, Mary Kate, anything that jumps out at you? I mean, was there any? It sounds like you might have had some really strong experiences with some organizations that maybe helped you have some breakthroughs, or you've seen others have breakthroughs, or anything that you'd like to share with the civilian community as regards veterans.
Absolutely. I think part of, well, for the veterans, really, is that networking piece is so important. I mean, you'll bash your brains out trying to get the resume right, and I do think that it's important to have a civilian who's never spent a day in the military to look at it, because they'll be able to see whether everything's been translated correctly. If they can understand it, then you've done your part. But then that doesn't land you the job, and the networking piece is so important. And I will say to not close that door of opportunity just because the person you're speaking with isn't in an industry you're interested in. And I'd say that I made that mistake when I was first decided I was going to transition out of the U.S. Army, and I was speaking to people from human resources, and I was like, I don't think I would want to do human resources, but it turns out that they knew somebody who knew somebody in an industry that I potentially interested in. So I would say to not close off that relationship with people. Just keep connecting and exploring those doors of opportunity. And I think also with having a clearance, I know we talk about OPSEC and having that operational security, keep all that information close. I know I have colleagues that I still serve with in uniform who wouldn't even be on a podcast. You wouldn't catch them on a podcast like this, because they're more like, I don't want you to know what I look like or my name or anything that I do. But it's so important, like Matt was saying, Marina's saying, to really put yourself out there, because when people can tell when you're being fake, be your genuine, authentic self. That's why I love Vets to Industry so much. We don't discriminate against people. If you, even regardless of what type of, whether you had an honorable discharge or not, if you're a veteran, we will help you find a way. So I think that's just something important to keep in mind, that to just be your true self.
That is fantastic advice. I mean, it's too hard to be somebody else. eventually you run out of gas doing that. So you have to be your real self.
Yes. Especially like in the about section on your, your LinkedIn profile, there's so many cookie cutter words that we like to say, project management for umpteen amount of years, but try to, or throw your rank in there, your clearance, but the clearance and the rank alone aren't going to get you the job. And it's really important to just, I love, Scott, that in the beginning, you even caught me because I didn't say anything about what I like to do in my free time. And you had to ask it because I'm not used to just talking about the real Mary Kate behind the scenes. But that's, when we do that, that's something people remember about you in that initial introduction at any job fair or networking event.
Yeah, well said. Definitely well said. Also, don't feel the need to earn the job that you get. In a way, I don't know how much you hear this in the military, but a lot of people will say it's not what you know, it's who you know. That is 180 degrees incorrect. To go to Matt's point, it's not what you know or who you know, it's who knows you. Who will put their faith in you, the real you,
Yep.
and who will take a risk on you. So that to emphasize the networking point that you've all spoken to, get people to know you, not get to know people. Of course, you'll get to know them, but get them to know you, because it's a risk hiring anyone. Right.
Yes.
And if you know somebody, you are going to prefer to hire them. Also, if you have a huge advocate, lean on them big time. Don't earn your first job. Get it the old fashioned way. Have your parents or a good friend get it for you.
It's funny that you say that, because we all hear the thing of 20% of the jobs that are on LinkedIn, Glassdoor, et cetera, are being shown. Like the other 80% are staying internal. So for you to have a sponsor, which is basically somebody that you've networked with that knows you professionally and personally, to be the one to say, I think you should look at Matt or look at Mary because they are amazing. And here, I'm going to walk you past the recruiter straight to the hiring manager, plop the resume on the desk and be like, this is the person that you want. And that's really what we're trying to do when we do these networking events. We want people to meet recruiters. We have big names that come to our stuff. Like, no joke, FEMA, Facebook. Matt was talking about Ray and Samantha Domingo. That's Amazon and Lockheed Martin.
Mm-hmm.
We got big companies that are coming. Broadleaf Inc. So many different ones that are coming, and they're like, please, we're looking for people. We can help you. And I think, when you were asking about what veterans in transition can do, start early. Start everything early. When I say early, I don't mean like a year. Start looking 2 to 3 years. Start your LinkedIn that early. Start looking at the companies. Obviously you can't apply till like 90 days out, but start researching these companies and finding out who aligns with your values, like Matt and Mary were saying.
Yep.
Ways to work their way up. Show your value to the company. The thing about military people is we thrive in situations where other people might, get a little about it, right? We thrive on that. We've been doing it for, however many years, and we can navigate our way through things like that. And by showing that you can do that, especially in this COVID pandemic world, that you can navigate that kind of craziness, that's showing amazing value to company that you're wanting to work with.
Yep.
And then the other question that you were asking about the non-veterans, the challenges of the veteran community. I'm going to say.
So hang on one second, Marina, because I want to make sure our audience is there with you.
Yeah.
Because I really want y'all to speak, if you would, with this last question. to all the non-veterans that listen. Our audience is at the core. It's global supply chain, right? It's folks in the trenches doing it. It's folks managing. It's folks leading organizations. And while a lot of folks in supply chain are veterans, it's just a marriage, a match made in heaven. However, of course, there's also plenty of non-veterans. And I really want to use this last segment to speak and share with what non-veterans really need to understand about some of the challenges that are very unique to the veteran industry. And so with that with teeing it up that way, Marina, now that with that said, speak to our non-veteran audience members.
Well, I mean, I guess the first thing to say is not every veteran has PTSD. There's that huge stigma about that, about every single veteran that comes out of the military, and that's not the case. It really isn't. And if they do, it's not something to be scared of,
We work with a veteran almost every day who has PTSD, and he's a madman, but in a good way. And he has turned that to a positive. Really, he has. His outlet is thrash metal music, and he brings it every day to work. Yeah. He's one of my favorite people, and he has applied that dogma, that endless energy, that structure, whatever. Just the mere fact that he survived, he applies that every single day.
Yep.
So I agree that it is absolutely not something to be afraid of. It's something you need to be aware of, but not afraid of.
And then the other thing is acronyms. Be kind with us. Be kind with us, because we're going to have to forget acronyms and learn new ones. Because obviously, whatever you're going into, like for supply chain, you've got all kinds of different stuff that I don't know because I'm not in logistics. But there's all those different.
But most people in logistics don't know them either, Marina. So,
yeah. And there's so many different new acronyms in whatever job. Oh, thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm really glad that he liked what I was saying. But it's like, I have actually a super funny story, and I'll be very quick. In the Navy, there was this job that is called the Education Services Officer. Okay. I was that for one of the naval bases. And what's funny is that there is also in the same building that I work in, somebody else who is also an ESO, because we have acronym. Okay. He is the Explosives Safety Officer. A little bit different, right? Just a slight bit. And I would see people come to my office and they'd be like, hey, I need to talk to the ESO. And I would look at them and I would see that they had a baseball cap on, like from the ship. And I'm like, you don't need me. You're looking for the explosive safety person, aren't you? They're like, yeah, that's not you. No, sweetie, no, that's not me. So, yeah.
Hey, well, it's so your story points out just how explosive the wrong assumption might be. Sorry, I had to put that dad joke in there. But we love our acronyms. Yeah, we love our acronyms. We love it in the military, just like we love it in supply chain. And to your point, Marina, we can't assume that everyone's tracking with us. We don't do a great job, but we try, Greg. But in all of our interviews, when someone shares an acronym that a portion of our audience may not get, veteran or otherwise, right, we try to say, okay, time out. Share what that means for folks that may not know. A lot of times it's me. So great comment, Marina. So much good stuff you shared there. Mary Kate, how about you? Speak to our non-veteran audience members and what should they know?
Yes, I think one thing, what Marina said, I think is like the cream of the crop misconception about veterans. But it's another one is the fact of moving so much. It was the military that moved us. That wasn't something that to think that hiring us that we're going to up move again, that we're not able to be stable and to stay in one place. I know it's a misconception for military spouses as well, that they're just going to up and leave, but it's now, a choice for us while we're in service all the time. So it's just something that's important to know when we get out. And we do bring a lot to the table, and it is, that process is a huge transition for us. So that patience factor, to be patients for us, we want to be able to, we have so much to offer any industry, and to just give us a chance.
Love that. Fair shake. And you're absolutely right. Veterans bring so much. I mean, Greg, three folks here. Can you imagine mountains that these three folks could move, working together and what they bring to the table? So, and hopefully, my hunch is that you're really illustrating and reconfirming that, as if it needed it shouldn't need to be said, but you're absolutely right, Mary Kate. All right, Matt, what would you share with non-veteran members of our audience?
So the biggest thing I would share is that we all came from the same place. We all were raised by a family. We're all figuring out what we're going to do as we grew up. And the difference was we decided to take the military uniform on. And so what we've learned throughout our military career is being resilient and being adaptable. So you can put us in any situation, much like what Marina was talking about earlier. When you take a veteran on, you know that they've got leadership behind them. They've got ability to handle a situation that may be chaos. Like, we thrive in chaos, like Marina was saying earlier, but we also have your back. So if you give a task out and you say, this is a deadline, this needs to get done, with us, we're going to have that deadline met, either exceeding expectations or at least with questions. We're not going to leave it where we don't get the task done because we don't know what to do. We're going to ask. And that's what it's all about. Like I said earlier, when I started off, I started off as an E1, and now I'm a much different level. But when I started off, I was just asking questions left and right. And through all the different years, I've learned to be able to adapt to every single situation, every job, every military leader. And additionally, before I joined the military, I was in services. So basically restaurant management and things like that. Still got to work for people. So just understand that we bring to the table the ability to adapt to every situation.
Love that. And love the fact that one of the things you shared there is it's okay not to have all the answers. It's empowering oftentimes not to have all the answers. And going back to what you shared, that I'm going to completely steal from you, Matt, is be available to be vulnerable. All right. So Greg, I want to circle back to you. Gosh, Marina and Mary Kate and Matt, I hope we can, and we're going to try our best to shout what they're sharing here on our mountaintops that we've got control of, because more our veterans need to hear what they've shared here today. Our non-veteran members of the community need to hear what they've shared here today. And before I get you to weigh in, Greg, I want to issue a challenge. Thanking veterans for their service, that's highly appreciated, but it's not enough. Take action. Connect veterans with their network. Bring them into the hiring manager's office. Take action to give them what they need, especially folks as they're transitioning into the private sector. So take action, because words are not enough. Greg, what are some of the cool things that you really appreciated what our panel here has shared?
Well, one of the things that I think it is important for civilians to understand is that the most important thing to recognize when you are dealing with hiring, engaging with a veteran, is that you are speaking to a person who makes life and death decisions instantaneously with insufficient information.
Yep.
And nothing other than healthcare that we do in the civilian sector is life and death. So imagine how powerful that skill can be in your business. It's one of the things, Scott, that we've been saying for years makes veterans such a great fit for supply chain. You have to make instantaneous decisions with insufficient information with major consequences. So I think you have to acknowledge that is the number one skill, especially in today's business world. As today's business world changes every day, right? that adaptability, and it's weird. I know it's weird to think military and adaptability, but that situational adaptability is so valuable in business. And
that diversity and inclusion too, Greg. It's like with us, like we're forced, even from day one at basic training, we're forced to work with people from all different backgrounds, different parts of the country. We got people from that aren't even they were raised outside of the United States,
right?
And we have to learn to work together. And I think that's really something that's makes the military just a completely different environment, learning how to work as a team together despite our diversity.
That's a really great, and and another thing that I think I would, I've encouraged civilian organizations to think about military people as a diversity group, right? You don't have to separate. If you have a diversity and inclusion program, look, imagine this is somebody who has learned to live their life different than you have for whatever reason, right?
Yes.
And if you think about it from that perspective and less about from this is a military perspective, it helps. It has helped me, frankly. It helps to engage that empathy as you would for a person of color or someone who leads a different lifestyle or whatever. A foreign, someone who speaks a different language or whatever diversity group that you're thinking of. It really helps to think of it from that perspective as well.
Yes, but it takes bridge builders, right? It takes those first early adopters that are willing to reach out, include people in conversations, including people in after work socials or whatever, making them feel comfortable, right? Because as Greg, I can't remember who came on and talked with us, because diversity probably gets more airplay and lip service than inclusivity, and that's a shame. But they were speaking to how a lot of companies may get it right when it comes to diversity, but really making folks from all walks of life really feel like they're part of the team. That's what we can all get better in that probably. All right. So Mary Kate, clearly several members of our team love your phrase. I'm gonna share it again. Your network is your net worth. So true.
Marina.
I'm sorry. I said Mary Kate. Sorry, Marina. Love that. You got to keep networking, got to keep connecting. You never know what's right around the corner. A great network's never a bad thing. Good point there. I want to, so this is coming out of right field maybe, and I'm hoping I can share Bruce's comment here. Y'all don't kick me on the table. You kick Bruce. All three of these individuals will be available for employment opportunities soon. Reach out to them and see more about what they can bring to your organization. The talent is there. I completely agree, Bruce. The talent clearly is there. Hey,
that, man.
So let's do this. I think, Greg, we could easily go an extra hour, and we're going to go over a little bit already. But let's make sure that folks can connect and know how to connect with each of our guests here today. And let's start with you, Marina. How can folks connect with you and Vets to Industry?
How can they connect with me? So email address wise, it is my first dot my last name at vetstoindustry.com. Otherwise, you could also send an email to events or even marketing at vetstoindustry.com. We check, myself and Mary Kate, we check both of those religiously. I'm also on LinkedIn. I think Clay had put our LinkedIn. Oh, hello. There we go. That's me. Thank you, Clay. Oh, wow. I'm a ticker tape on the bottom of the screen. I've never seen that before.
There we go. How's that?
That's so cool. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I just joined back on Facebook recently after a sabbatical of quite a long time. I'm on Instagram as well, but the big place to find me is LinkedIn or the email.
Great. Awesome. And we've got we've got each of your LinkedIn profiles in the show notes. One click is what we're after. Matt, same question to you, and we'll circle back to Vets to Industry, but how can folks connect with you?
So I would say the same exact thing without sounding like a parrot, but it is also my first name dot last name at vetstoindustry.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. And I just ask for when people do connect with, send a little message of of how we met. What are some of the things you're looking to try to get from me? How can I help you? Allow me to be able to find a way to help you. And Clay, you can actually make that Matthew.Brink. That is my full name. I go by Matt, and when I connect with you, I'm actually trying to be more genuine, and we go by my Matt name. So perfect. Thank you so much. But honestly, I'm very big about being genuine. I say it all the time, and the folks that do connect with me, I'm so happy to help out anybody who needs it. And if I don't know the answers, I know who to talk to find it. So that's how we can connect with each other. Let's start up with that way.
Matt, well said. Really appreciate your perspective there. And Clay, great, quick on the fingers there on the keyboard. Thanks so much. Mary Kate, same question. How can folks connect with you?
Yes, so I'm at mary.soliva@vestindustry.com. Mary Kate's, again, to be personal, my nickname, John Wayne's movie, The Quiet Man. I guess my dad got it there besides being named after my aunt. So anyways, you can reach me at that email, or also LinkedIn is a great way to reach me as well. I'm happy to help. I know I'm not out completely, but I do know a plethora of veterans that are already out, has successfully transitioned, and I've learned so much just in this process. I can help you. We can have a conversation, talk about the other veteran service organizations that are out there. There's so much that you should not have to pay for because there are people out there that want to help you, both military and civilian. And also, as far as the LinkedIn, just consider about geographically where you want to go. I know a lot of veterans just say, I want to be in human resources. I want to do logistics, but it's like what part of the country that matters too. So I can help connect you with somebody that's in that area where you want to go and where your family plans to go locate. So you can get that face-to-face engagement. So.
Love it. And Greg, while we still have our panel here, I do want to share this once again, vets2industry.com. And I want to call out one thing in particular, because while, of course, we set this day aside to honor our veterans, and again, we need to take action. It's deeds, not words. However, look in the paragraph here that they've got on the front page. We gotta keep our spouses in mind, military spouses in mind. We've got to keep our guard and reserve in mind. We got to keep those veteran military families, the dependents, our Blue Star, Gold Star families, you name it, the caregivers that often get overlooked. We got to really make sure we're not leaving anyone behind from these families that have given so much to serve and sacrifice for our country. So with that said, I can't tell y'all enough how honored we are to have you with us here, and how thankful we are for what you and your families have given to our country, and however we can help. But you are giving our country while you're giving so much back to the veteran community. It makes you feel like we just don't do enough. Y'all set a high bar, and we're so grateful for it. So really appreciate it. Mary Kate Soliva, Matt Brink, Marina Rabinec, thanks so much for spending a portion of your Veterans Day with us. And Greg, before we swoosh them out, your final word with this incredible panel.
I'm just incredibly thankful. This is one of my favorite days. November 11th is always one of my favorite days. And I'm just incredibly thankful for everyone who serves and their families, and the families who let them or make them go. That's an important part of the entire ecosystem. Look, whether you're fighting or you're freeing, you're representing America, and you're doing it so well. I mean, so many people overseas and in the States, and where they want to be, and far from where they'd want to be. It's not a difficult. I mean, it's not an easy job. It's the most important job in our country, I think, and it's just so very appreciated. I hope I'm adequately representing that thankfulness of the civilian community, but know that it's there.
Yep. Well said. All right. So big thanks to the whole panel. We look forward to reconnecting soon. Make sure our audience, we'll make sure you've got that Vets2Industry link right there in the show notes. Thanks so much, Mary Kate, Matt, and
thank
Marina.
You, veterans.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody. Happy Veterans Day.
Honor is all here.
Thank you so much.
We're thankful.
All right. Wow.
It's a little dusty in here, isn't it?
There's so much more of that conversation needs to go on, needs to be heard, that they need to, that we need to amplify. And, our team, I'm really proud of just how important it is in terms of how we act and what we share and what we invest in our veteran community, because there's so much that we all can learn from these folks that are wearing a uniform, are serving the country while they're juggling 20 other things and doing it all spectacularly well. So, Greg?
Yeah, well, I think there's so much that people, civilian organizations want to help veterans earn, right? And I think this as a bridge organization to prepare veterans and to help prepare civilian organizations to embrace and engage and uplift veterans is so important. And look at Marina's comment. It's so important and so deserved. And it's, it's not perfect and there's still a disconnect there, but I feel like we're closing the gap, right? I feel like the intention, as you said, words or deeds, not words, the action is there. And with that action and with that intention, we will close that gap. And I just hope that, as these events are useful to veterans, that there are some breakthrough aha moments for people in industry to go, I never thought about it that way.
Yep.
That would change the way in which we could make our engagement with veterans more successful. I just hope that this creates some small measure of progress towards closing that gap.
Yes. And we got to keep fighting. You can't, we have been, as we all know, been in war and been men and women in combat for, gosh, way too long. And we can't revert back to reality world TV. And we got to keep these veterans and these military members and their families front and center. And one day is not enough, but deeds, not words. On that note, if y'all enjoyed this conversation as much as Greg and I have, and I'm sure Amanda and Clay have, we dedicate a podcast series, which that's not enough, but you give from what you have. I've always thought, and we interview some of the brightest people that have given so much on this series. So y'all check it out, including Brian Arrington. And episode 16 featured Brian and his story, his transition, how he founded Vets to Industry. He weighs in on some of the issues of the day that we've got to talking about addressing. And I would invite all of our listeners to check out that episode and give Veteran Voices a kick the tires on maybe yet one more podcast series. But these are voices that absolutely need to be heard, and it's an honor to be able to facilitate their POV with members of our audience. And then one final note, Greg, beyond vets2industry.com, which we've got the URL in the show notes. Of course, we like to think we're the clearinghouse for all things supply chain. Vets to Industry is an outstanding be all for veterans and resources, and they do a great job vetting and sharing that information. Well, we kind of do that on the global supply chain side, and we're really as adamant as we are and as proud as we are of helping to amplify the veteran voices out there. The supply chain practitioner voice is important to us as well, and that's a mission we take very seriously. So supplychainnow.com there. All right, Greg. Outstanding conversation, and there's so much that I want to capture and bullet point.
Sorry. If we're looking for insights as to the potential that exists in military veterans, those were three outstanding representatives, right? We have the honor of meeting so many, Brian and Aaron and Keith and so many others that we have talked with on Veteran Voices and elsewhere. But I think the more of this kind of exposure, the better.
Agreed.
Now you can close.
Okay. Well, hey, big thanks to our guests, Mary Kate, Matt, and Marina. Really thankful for all they do. Big thanks to our audience. I know that we couldn't quite get to as much. We had so much to share on this live stream in particular.
Yep.
We couldn't get to everyone's comments, but we appreciate everybody tuning in and all the great comments and some of the questions there. To our veterans, we can't thank you enough. And again, deeds, not words. To our non-veteran listenership, hey, find new ways of serving our veteran community. There's so much to be done. And Greg, honored to be a part of conversations like this with you and with the team here, Amanda and Clay. And with that team in mind, we're going to sign off at this point. But hey, not without the challenge. Do good, give forward, and be the change that's needed. Be like Mary Kate, Matt, and Marina, and action. Strong bias for action, action-focused leadership. That's where it's at. And with all that said, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Hey, thanks, everybody.